the correct order of decreasing XOX bond angle is, right? So you've been given three molecules here, right? So one is your Cl2O, right? So you have your ClOCl, something like this. So there is XOX kind of bond in all of these. Then you have your HOH, and then you have your FOF, right? So ideally, when you are looking at these, what you can say is that, okay, central atoms are all the same. Hybridization of central atom is also the same. The number of steric number is basically 4 in all of them for oxygen. So all of these are sp3 hybridized. All of these have bent kind of a shape. As far as bond angle is concerned, lone pair will tell us that obviously it has to be less than tetrahedral bond angle of 109.5 degree. This is what common sense tells us, right? Now, based on that, on top of that, what else do we know? When we have like a highly electronegative terminal atom, we know that bond angle is supposed to decrease. Why? Because highly electronegative terminal atom will pull away electron cloud towards itself, and you can say that the bond angle can further reduce, right? So the electron clouds are further away. For example, in this OF2, you can see that the electron cloud would be more towards fluorine, because fluorine is the most electronegative element, which means that we can reduce the bond angle further. These lone pair will be able to repel these very effectively. The bond angle can be further reduced. So what we normally say is that if we have the same central atom, same hybridization, same number of lone pair, all of these, then what we say is that higher electronegativity of terminal atom would reduce the bond angle. Based on that logic, we can say that the least bond angle will be there in your OF2, right? Now F2O, OF2, this will have the least bond angle. Then maybe OCl2 should be there, and then the least electronegative is hydrogen, so you would probably expect H2O to have the highest bond angle, right? But what we observe is not this. What we see is that OF2 of course has the lowest bond angle, then you have your H2O, and then you have your OCl2. The reason being that chlorine, decently large atom, right? Decently large two chlorine atoms are attached to oxygen, and they have like lone pairs also, right? Chlorine has 3 lone pairs on the atom, so they will be repelling each other. Non-bonding electron pairs, right? Non-bonding lone pair electron pairs in these terminal atoms are repelling each other. It will be difficult to accommodate basically these two bulky chlorine atoms on the oxygen atom, so its bond angle further increases. What you see is that it comes very close to your 109 degree, right? So your H2O was 104.5 degree, F2O will be even less than this, and Cl2O will be the one with the highest bond angle, right? So Cl2O is the one with the highest bond angle, then I am expecting H2O, and then I am expecting F2O. This is exactly the order I am looking for. So our final answer is A option. This is a simple question based on the definition of what you call as Mulliken scale of electronegativity, right? Pauling scale is a more commonly used one, you know the formula. But yeah, here what is said, which of the following relationship is correct? IE being the ionization energy in electron volt per atom, EA being the electron affinity in electron volt per atom, and EN being the electronegativity in Mulliken scale. Basic definition of Mulliken scale electronegativity is that electronegativity is IE plus EA divided by 2, where IE and EA are both in electron volt per atom, right? So if I cross multiply, what do I get? 2En minus IE minus IA equal to 0, right? So 2En is something that I can see here. 2En minus IE minus EA equal to 0. This is exactly what we are looking for. So final answer is B option. When 100 ml of one normal NaOH solution and 10 ml of 10 normal sulfuric acid solution are mixed together, the resulting solution will be, right? So what do we have? We have OH minus and we have H plus, right? So NaOH is furnishing OH minus, and as far as H2SO4 sulfuric acid is concerned, it is giving us H plus. Normality can be said to be, for an acid, normality is same as the concentration of H plus in molar, right? Basically normality is molarity into n factor. That n factor is number of H plus per molecule of acid, and it turns out to be equal to number of H plus, number of moles of H plus per liter of solution only, right? So what is given is that Similarly, you can also say that normality is same as concentration of OH minus if you are looking at a base. So we have one normal NaOH 100 ml, right? So normality is number of equivalents divided by volume in ml, equivalence divided by volume in ml into 1000, right? So if I look at cross multiplying this, what do I get? Normality into volume in ml is number of equivalents into 1000, which is number of milli equivalents, right? So when I'm looking at OH minus, what I can say is that or NaOH for that matter, what I'm getting is 100 into 1, which means 100 milli equivalent, 100 milli equivalents of OH minus or NaOH for that matter, right? Or 100 millimole of OH minus also you can see, because it's the same, right? So as far as acid is concerned, 10 normal, right? 10 normal and 10 ml is what you have. So 10 into 10 would mean that you have 100 milli equivalents of acid, which is same as saying 100 milli equivalents of H plus. Right. So what you can see here is that OH minus and H plus, they are present in equal number, right? So number of moles is the same, number of millimoles is the same, number of equivalents of base is same as number of milli equivalents of base is same as number of milli equivalents of acid. So they are going to neutralize each other. So what we are going to get is going to be, of course, a neutral solution. If acid was more, we would have said the solution will be acidic. More milli equivalents of acid was there. Let's say, for example, instead of 10, let's say this was 40 ml of H2SO4, we would have said, okay, more acid is there. 40 into 10 is 400 milli equivalents of acid is there, which means 400 millimole of H plus is there. So more acid is there, which means that even after neutralization, solution would have been acidic. But here what we have is 100 milli equivalents of base and 100 milli equivalent of acid, which means it is going to be a neutral solution, which is option B. This question says the correct figure representing the isothermal and adiabatic expansion of an ideal gas from a particular initial status, right? So you are starting from some initial state. Let me look at all of these. So you're starting from some initial state in all of them, and how exactly is P and V changing is what we are trying to see here. Right. So what we are looking at is P versus V curves, right? So you can see here V is marked and P is marked on the y-axis. So yeah, in these PV curves, we have to guess which one is looking at isothermal adiabatic. I mean, which one has given it correctly is what we have to see. Now, let me speak about this, right? Now, as far as PV curve is concerned, right? As far as an isotherm is concerned, when temperature is constant, we know that we get what we call as a rectangular hyperbola, right? Now, this is an expansion. So, this is an initial point and this is my final point. How do I know? Because you can see that volume has increased, right? So, this is your initial volume. This is your final volume. Oh, wait, what? Final volume. So volume has increased. So this is expansion that is happening. Now, as far as adiabatic expansion is concerned, right? So obviously, when you're looking at isothermal expansion, the name itself tells you temperature is the same, right? So temperature at initial point and temperature at final point are the same. Right. Now think about adiabatic, right? Now in adiabatic we know that dq is going to be 0. du is supposed to be equal to dq plus dw from first law. dq is of course 0, so du will be equal to dw, right? In adiabatic. Now what is adiabatic? No heat enters or leaves the system, right? Obviously if there is expansion, we know that work done is negative, right? Work during expansion, sign convention, we say that when there is expansion, system is the one doing work against the external agency. So we say that work done is negative. When we do work on the system, compressive work is taken as positive. So yeah, expansion, so dW is negative. So obviously du is also going to be negative, right? Now what is du? What do we know about du? Du is representation of temperature, right? So du, the change in temperature is n CV molar dt, right? So the change in internal energy is n CV molar dt, where n is number of moles, CV molar of course is CV molar, and dt is change in temperature. So if du is negative during adiabatic expansion, if du is negative because dw is negative, obviously dt also has to be negative. Right? Now, if dt is negative, what does that tell you? Temperature has decreased. Now let's say adiabatically I'm coming somewhere. I don't know. It could be either of these. Let's just say either of these is the adiabatic curve, right? I'm coming to the same final volume. At the same volume, higher temperature would mean higher pressure. No, Gay-Lussac's law, right? So we know that at same temperature, same volume, higher pressure would mean higher temperature and lower pressure would mean lower temperature, right? So when I'm looking at isothermal endpoint, this was my isothermal endpoint, pressure is higher. Since adiabatically temperature is lower, so obviously pressure also has to be lower. So this is going to be my adiabatic endpoint and not this one, right? So basically idea is that temperature is reducing. You can also remember it like this: whenever you have an isotherm at, let's say, some temperature T0, right? Let's say some temperature is at T0, all the points that are lying below the isotherm are at a temperature less than T0, and all the points lying above the isotherm are at a temperature greater than T0. So when I'm looking at isothermal expansion, I came here. This is obviously same temperature, because it's obviously an isothermal process, so it's at the same temperature. Adiabatically, it had to be a lower temperature, so obviously, as I was telling you, we have to come below the isotherm to find the adiabatic endpoint. So yeah, adiabatic endpoint has to be like this and below your isothermal endpoint. Looking at these options, right? So of course, one more thing that we have to remember is that for sure you have to remember this, that this is how your isotherm looks like, right? So it's called a hyperbola, rectangular hyperbola. It looks something like this. So yeah, looking at the options, we can see that A itself is the correct one, right? So isotherm is here, adiabatic is below it, and both of them have this kind of curve. This shape is wrong, right? So these are wrong for me. Adiabatic is above isothermal, not going to happen, because of course we know that adiabatically during expansion temperature will decrease. My point has to lie below my isotherm. Again, it is not linear, so even this is wrong, right? So it's not like a straight line that you get P versus V, right? So of course, looking at the options, we can see that the correct answer is of course A. So looking at the options, we can see correct answer is A option. Okay, this question says 10 liter of a monoatomic ideal gas at 0 degrees C and 10 atmosphere is suddenly released to 1 atmosphere pressure. Suddenly released to 1 atmosphere pressure, and the gas is expanded adiabatically against the constant pressure. What is that against that constant pressure? 1 atmosphere. Right? So it was only at 10 atmosphere and 0 degrees C and it had 10 liters, but suddenly it is expanding against 1 atmosphere. Find the final volume of the gas, right? So what can you see here? Of course, the gas pressure was originally 10 atmosphere. Gas will keep on expanding till the pressure inside becomes 1 atmosphere, right? Obvious, right? So P final is going to be 1 atmosphere, right? So P final, P initial of the gas is given to us. P initial of gas is 10 atmosphere. P final of the gas will be equal to 1 atmosphere. Why? Because that is the external atmospheric pressure, right? So the gas expands as long as its pressure is greater than 1 atmosphere. So yeah, final pressure of gas is going to be 1 atmosphere. Now, as far as this process is concerned, it is adiabatic and it is irreversible. How do we know it is irreversible? Because P external is constant, right? So whenever your external pressure is a fixed value, we say that it is irreversible process. Of course, I mean, in isobaric, not really. We don't speak of reversible there. But yeah, point is that as long as P external is a fixed constant value, we say that we have an irreversible process. What we have is basically irreversible adiabatic. This is the way to do it. Be very careful how to do it. This is the method, right? So what you have to do is, we know, see, of course, Q is 0, right? Delta U equal to Q plus W. We know Q is 0, adiabatic process. So delta U equal to W, right? Delta U is equal to W. This is what we are going to write. What is delta U? Delta U is N. Yeah, what you can say is that it is supposed to be NCV delta T. right? So what you do in irreversible adiabatic is exactly this. Just write this down and try and find out what is not known to us, right? For example, here B final volume is not known to us. So delta U is supposed to be NCV molar delta T, which turns out to be NR upon gamma minus 1 delta T. So it turns out to be NR delta T upon gamma minus 1, right? Monoatomic gas. So we know gamma is 5/3, right? So we know gamma value and all. NR delta T can be written as delta PV. So it is also written as delta PV by gamma minus 1, right? What do you mean by delta PV? PV final minus PV initial, right? So this is exactly what you have to write. This is the formula. P final V final minus V initial is delta PV divided by gamma minus 1. This is your delta U, and this is supposed to be equal to work done. Now in work done, what we say is that work done is supposed to be minus P external dV integration. P external is a fixed value, it comes out, and what we end up getting is minus P external into delta V, right? Minus V external into V final minus V initial. So this is the formula you have to remember. I just explained it to you, but yeah, you have to remember this formula. This is how you will start whenever you have an irreversible adiabatic. Unless and until the question doesn't require you to find out unknown things, this is how you will proceed, right? So here, I know the initial volume, I know P initial, I know P initial, I know V initial, I know P final. They didn't give it directly, but we used our common sense to say that it will be 1 atmosphere, because 1 atmosphere is external pressure. Till then, gas will expand, right? So we know P final. We don't know V final, which is exactly our question. We know gamma, we know P external, we don't know V final, we know V initial. So obviously, we get a linear equation here, right? So what is that going to be? P final was 1, right? So 1 into V final minus V initial was 10 into 10, 100, divided by gamma minus 1. Gamma of monoatomic gas is 5/3. So gamma minus 1 is 2/3. So it becomes 3/2. Let me write it as 2/3 in this step. This should be equal to minus P external is obviously minus 1 into V final minus V initial was of course 10. This is my equation. Now let's try to solve this. Let's take the 2/3 to the other side and this 3 to this side. Whatever. I mean, on solving, I'll get 3 into V final minus 100 is equal to 2 will go to the other side, minus 2 rather, right? So there was already a minus, and V final minus 10. Right, so what I'm getting is 3V final minus 300 is equal to minus 2V final plus 20. So I'm getting 5 times V final is equal to 320. So my V final is going to be 320 by 5. 320 by 5 is how much? 60 plus 4, right? So 64 liters. This is the final volume that I'm getting. Of course, it is B option, right? So yeah, what do? Whenever we have irreversible, just remember this. Delta U equal to W. This is what we are basically writing. Delta U is delta of PV divided by gamma minus 1, and work done is minus P external into V final minus V initial. Equate these two and find out what is missing. So here V final was missing, everything else was known. And of course, we got the final answer to be B option, 64 liters.